Video game developers have always been battling to protect their content against pirates and piracy, and over the years many of them have looked to more inventive ways to stop them in their tracks. And today, and once again, we're going to be checking out some of the most creative anti-piracy measures that have been used to mock, troll and punish, and in one case actually encourage them to go out and buy their game, as we take a look at 8 super anti-piracy measures in video games, and right here on 30 Star Egg Hunter. It was back in 1988 when designers Ken and Doug McNeil gave us Gold Rush, a story that follows Jared Wilson on a mission to meet his long lost brother, which turns out to be a rather difficult and dangerous journey, and where we find out that you can die of just about anything. And amazingly, even before this perilous adventure even begins, which is all thanks to the game being implemented with a copy protection system, which required you to refer to the California Gold Manual and then answer a particular question by referring to a specific paragraph located on a certain page. But failing to do so because you pirated the game, or perhaps you lost the manual, would result in Jared being sent straight to the gallows, strung up, given the chance to utter some final words, and then hung as your punishment. Up next, it's Studio MDHR and the Canadian developers responsible for the 2017 run and gun adventure Cuphead Don't Deal with the Devil, a title that has been highly praised and particularly stands out for the gameplay, watercolour backdrops and the rubber hose animation style, which is like something straight out of an episode of Popeye. Anyway, for this game the developers went with a rather different anti-piracy measure and was used more to startle those with illegitimate copies. You see, normally when you reach the main menu, the game would sound like this. Cuphead and his pal Bugman, they like to roll the dice. By chance they came on Devil's Game, and gosh, they paid the price. But for those who pirate the game, would instead receive this. A track named Don't Deal with Devil vocals 666, and a piece of music which, when viewed using a spectral frequency display, would in fact produce images of the game's devil transitioning through various phases. While back in late 2001 and after the Sega Dreamcast had been discontinued, it was then when developers Visual Concepts released the very entertaining and quirky Ooga Booga, an on and offline single and multiplayer Smash Brothers inspired title that sadly went a little under the radar. And for those of you that decided to pirate this gem of the game, might have been in for a rather amusing anti-piracy measure that just so happens to troll players upon startup. And I'd just like to say a huge thank you to PC from the DreamcasticChannel right here on YouTube for providing me with the upcoming footage, and you can find a link to his channel within the description.
Arg, my pulley here hits harder than you. I'll shiver your timbers. I'll feed you to the sharks, matey. Arg. I'll run you through.
This next anti-piracy measure is very similar to the painful one that was found in HAL Laboratories Earthbound, which if you pirated that game, it would actually allow you to play 99% of the adventure and even allow you to reach the final boss, only for the game to then crash, forcing the player to reset the console and then completely destroy your save file. And in Sunsoft's Mr. Gimmick, which is a really frustrating, tricky and tough challenge, would also allow you to complete 99% of the title and even reach the game's 7th and secret level, which not only required you to complete each of the 6 levels and defeat all the bosses, but you also had to find the 6 annoying and well hidden treasures throughout the game, and all of which had to be done without using a single continue. Where then, and only then, could you access the final level and take on the final boss to receive the game's good ending. Unfortunately, for those using a pirated copy, then the game will throw the player into the black hole, and that's the end of the game, and is actually a reference to the same black hole found in Zone 42 of Atlantis. No, Nazoo.
What are you looking at?
Yeah, next up it's Crow Team's 2011 first-person shooter adventure and blow the crud out of everything, Serious Sam 3, BFE, which has one of the greatest anti-piracy measures out of them all, and it'd be pretty rude not to check it out. As if the game detects a pirated copy, then within the first 5 minutes of starting the first stage, and after destroying the first beheaded kamikaze, you will encounter the super fast red immortal arachnoid who will deal with you in just a couple of seconds. Oh, and if you fancy taking on this beast for yourself, then you could always download a mod from Steam to see how long you can last.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Wesson, glad you could make it.
Now we're heading back to the late 80s, to a time of floppy disks and to an anti-piracy measure that was found in Lucasfilm Games' Maniac Mansion, which is home to a rather large blue steel security door that can be found on the first floor in Dr. Fred's mansion. And for those curious players who wanted to gain access to it, would first have to enter in a code that could be located in a certain section, row and column within the Nukem Alarms Owner's Disarmament Quick Reference Guide, which was shipped with various versions of the game. But upon failure to do exactly that would result in an irreversible countdown. Back in 2016, developers Dodge Roll and publishers Devolver Digital brought us Enter the Gungeon, a title that is described as a bullet-hell dungeon crawler following a band of misfits seeking to shoot, loot, dodge roll and table flip their way to personal absolution by reaching the legendary Gungeon's ultimate treasure, the gun that can kill the past. Anyway, it appears Enter the Gungeon doesn't actually have any anti-piracy measures in place. However, the open source project for modding the game, Mod the Gungeon, does. And for anyone that happens to install this on top of a pirated copy of Enter the Gungeon will be punished and trolled for their illegal copy. But before I continue, I'd just like to take a moment to say a huge thank you to YouTuber Manthor for helping me out with this anti-piracy measure, because without him I wouldn't have been able to include this in my video, and I will leave a link to his channel within the description. So after installing the mod and starting up the game, for pirates everything will seem normal. That is until suddenly you'll be whisked off to Chamber 1, where you'll be dumped with no weapons and then quickly joined by 8 Lord of the Jammed enemies who will kill you straight away unless you flee to the battle arena, where you'll be then met by the double glitch Beholster boss, where there is no chance of surviving this and you will be killed immediately. After that, the game will actually seem to play normally, albeit for about 4 seconds, where the game will then crash and proceed to open up your browser and load up 2 web pages for you to muse over. The first being the Steam store page for Enter the Gungeon for you to actually buy the game, while the second is a little bit more amusing.
Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
And yeah, to see us out today is one of the most nauseating, glitchiest and broken anti-piracy punishments that you can come across. As in Rockstar's GTA 4, and at literally any time between Nico hopping off the boat in the beginning segment and driving Roman back to the house is when the game can give you the middle finger for pirating. And if for some utterly strange reason you want to experience this for yourself, then you could just downgrade your Steam copy to this version, although just be warned, as this might actually delete your save file.
This is the mansion?
Just a temporary place. The mansion is coming, cousin. That's the dream. Follow me. Come in, come in! Make yourself at home. What's mine is yours.